Welcome back to the Matter of Facts podcast on the Prepper Broadcasting Network. We talk prepping, guns, and politics every week on iTunes, Stitcher, and Spotify. Go check out our content at mwfpodcast.com on Facebook or Instagram. You can support us via Patreon or by checking out our affiliate partners. I'm your host, Phil Rabalais. Andrew and Nick are on the other side of the mic, and here's your show. And welcome back to the Matter of Facts podcast. Y'all are welcome, because I've remembered to tweak that intro and not blow y'all's eardrums out, although I think I might have overcorrected and turned the volume down a little too much. But better that than, everybody lose their freaking mind screaming, yelling in the comments because I had everything turned up to 12.
I about threw my headphones off last week.
It was pretty entertaining, if I must say so myself. My name's Phil. This is Nick. Andrew's not here, but we did manage to Shanghai Matt from, let's see here, Matt, Brushbeater, NC Scout. Do you have any other names that I don't know about?
There's a few. I forgot. Depends on who you ask.
The socially acceptable ones, not the ones that get screamed at you when you're not looking.
I've had a few aliases over the years.
They wait till you're not looking?
I mean, whatever.
Or until they think he's not listening.
It's like the whole social media thing. I mean, people seem to think that, there's a handful of smartasses out there that are kind of overt about it. Randy from Not a Rubicon, my buddy over there, he's definitely, takes the cake for smartassery. I've been known to be kind of a jackass to people online. I tell them all the time, like, I will say this to your face. Like, you see, that's the difference between you and I, is that you will say things and be a troll, and I will say them to your face. Like, we got a class coming up, not this coming weekend, but the next. People will hear me say things in there where I'll be like, no better friend, but still, I'm gonna give people a little bit of shit. You say something stupid, I mean, whatever. Like, yeah, we all do dumb things. Don't do dumb things. So
exactly.
We should put that on a t-shirt. Yeah. Don't do dumb things.
You don't want the smoke, don't say it.
There you go.
Yeah. All right, let me do admin work really, really quick, and then we're going to get to it, because we don't have a guest every day, and I am curious to see how far off the rails we come with you, Matt, because, you're always good for speaking your mind, but I do want to get into, some of your backstory for the listeners that haven't been around since the last time we had you on. I don't know, 3-4 years ago. It's been a while.
Minute, man. It's been a minute.
But anyway, patrons, thanks to the patrons for supporting our sociopathy and keeping this from being a line item in my family budget, which allows me to conduct business without my wife screaming at me. I appreciate that. For $1 a month, you too can be among the nutcases that think this show is actually worth supporting. If you'd rather buy funny little t-shirts and koozies and stuff, and support a small business in the process, there's merch. Those links are also in the show description. And if you'd rather meet me and my wife and a couple of family members in person, we did start our nonprofit last year, Cypress Survivalists. We're running events down here in Southeast Louisiana. We do some training. We do some open forums where it's just kind of like show up, ask questions, run what you brung. And we're in the process of trying to put a pin on the calendar for an event later this year that's going to be a kind of a family camping trip. And we invite people from the local community that are interested in preparedness, camping, the outdoors, to come and join us. So I don't have details on it yet because that involves a board meeting, which hasn't happened yet. But anyway, so Matt, let's start here. You're Matt. You're NC Scout. I've heard the name Brushbeater thrown around, and I'm just kind of curious. Not just I know, but I'm curious for my listeners, how much of your origin story you want to go through, because I know that you've had a long journey to get to where you are today, and I know enough of your backstory to know I think where you came from. Oh, yeah. But for the listeners, where'd you start out?
Absolutely, man. So I was born a poor black child in North Carolina. No,
great movie.
No, it is. It's a jerk. It's like Blazing Saddles. It's another movie you literally can't make anymore. You can't, all those things you can't say anymore. But no, I I'm literally right now where I'm sitting is not too far away from the farm I grew up on. I'm fortunate to still own that farm, and I've added quite a bit to it. But as for me, you know, wasn't wealthy. Grew up, we raised horses. My dad worked in a factory. We ran a commercial landscaping crew. Literally three full time jobs right there in and of itself, on top of raising hay. It's just um, growing up with a lot of hard work instills a certain work ethic, and growing up in an area of North Carolina that's historically been very impoverished. um, Definitely, I mean, I grew up, I kind of make jokes about it every now and then, like growing up in the trailer hood, but I didn't grow up in a trailer, but most of the people around me did. And we were kind of considered wealthy, even though a lot of times for us, ends were kind of tough to meet too. But that being said, you learn a lot. You learn a lot about the world from a early age. We're talking late '80s into the '90s, and but at the same time, you appreciate a lot of stuff. You appreciate the world around you. Some of my earliest lessons of survival. Like we think of survival as like this primitive thing, going out into the wild, like conquering the wild and shit. And it's like, nah, man, survival is, hey, Hurricane Fran blew through 1996, and you don't have power for the next month. Like,
Mm-hmm.
how you gonna fix things? How are you gonna run the chainsaw, cut your way out of this? The blizzard that we had later that year, that was when I got intimately familiar. All that wood we cut from Hurricane Fran. Now, hey, we got this big surplus of wood. We normally would fall a few trees a year anyway, and we heated our home with wood. But
Nice.
we had the surplus of wood anyway. All right, now this is what we're cooking on. During that blizzard, we lost power yet again for a while. So I mean, some of those earliest lessons of survival started at a young age for me. Um, got Did my undergrad here in North Carolina. Went into the army because I was bored. Plain and simple. I was bored. It's hey man, there's two wars going on. It's the height of the GWATs. You talk
Mm-hmm.
2006, and hey, so what better than to go do it? And you know, went in. Went to Kirkuk, fought there. It was my first deployment. Second deployment was Samara, Iraq, which is in between Balad and Tikrit. So Kirkuk is kind of getting up into Kurdistan. That's northwest of the Hamran Mountains, and then Samara. Tikrit's kind of the other side of the Hamran Mountains, going south, and Samara is
Mm-hmm.
south from there. Re-enlisted when I was there. Um, Ended up in the long range surveillance company out of Bragg, and by some miracle ended up there and started working with guys that were total rock stars, and learned a mountain of stuff. And it was it was such a cool experience being there. And then we went to Afghanistan. Um, so we were in RC South, the 2010 2011 deployment, where we were literally going all over Kandahar province. We had guys that
Nice.
were, I mean, we ran. I'd have to go back and dig through some old notebooks. I couldn't even tell you how many missions we ran. But the thing is that we did everything from the traditional long range surveillance mission. Because anybody that's not familiar with what the LURS companies were, it because they don't exist anymore. Special reconnaissance still exists in the Army, but it exists in a different way. It's now it all got rolled into SOCOM, so they have special reconnaissance in SF. They have special reconnaissance a Ranger Recon Company, and then they have an asset also in CAG as a Tier 1 unit. So, I mean, but the thing is that a lot of the knowledge that was built in those units came from us, and we cultivated a lot of that. And a lot of our guys would go on to manifest into those units and build those skills as well. So the worst companies traditionally were special reconnaissance, and that is everything from uh, like book answer here. You're traveling up to 250 miles forward of the forward edge of the battle area, or FIBA, in like a typical, like a standard invasion type scenario. That's how far into the front you would be. Doctrinally, would anything ever in real life be pulled off like that? Nah, I wouldn't think so. But that's kind of the training parameters is like an ideal type. We were trained to do that. Bunch of other skills, that you gain from being there, and it was just an awesome opportunity, man. It was a great time, great company. I genuinely loved every ounce of my being, everybody that I worked around. It was one place where there wasn't anybody in that building that I'm like, nah, I wouldn't go to war with him. Like every other unit that I had been in prior to that in the Army, there's always that one guy where you're like, or a handful of dudes where you're like, do I really gotta deploy with this motherfucker right here? But nah, that company, it was everything was very, very professional, extremely professional.
I mean, frankly, you're lucky you only had that. You were lucky to only have one like that made you question your life decisions.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And the leadership makes all the difference too. The leadership makes all the difference in a unit. And the thing about being in LURS at that time was so every detachment commander was a captain, and you have 3 detachments in the company. So you've got really a higher tier of authority that allows you a greater freedom of movement. So you could do, I mean, pretty much anything. The company commander is a major. Like the company commander that was there when I got there left the Army to go to the CIA's ground branch and be an OIC of some activity they had going on over there. I'm not at liberty to say, but that's what he went on to go do. Our company commander that came in after him went on to JSOC, and then the company commander that came in after that guy had come from JSOC. He rotated out of JSOC and came over to us, to get basically building his career out. And so we, at that time, man, we were really just this cool, like, well kept secret in the Army. Very, very professional, but still laid back. It was just such a cool environment, and I loved it. I loved every second of it. Very, very grateful for that opportunity. Grateful for everybody I served with there. But it was just a lot of fun, and a lot of the skills that I picked up there, obviously, I would utilize later on. One of the things, though, that was really instrumental, I think, in what I would do now, what I would be doing now, other than the communications side, because we could talk a lot about that. And that's what people, I think, really know me for, obviously, for the books I've written and everything. But really just the laid back way in which you teach concepts, because I was so used to the way Big Army did things, and then I got to this company and everybody was like super laid back, and hey, we're just going to go to the range. Hey, we're just going to go to the and it's not like it's not like a family fun fest where everything is just stupid, it wasn't like any of that. And so I felt like I was actually learning skills, and then there's the way that the schoolhouse teaches everything. So you go to school after school after school, your training pipeline, and you come back and it's like, okay, well, now we're going to do it the way that you actually do it in the real world. And it was always just really, as long as you showed up and you proved why you belonged there, you never had a problem. And it was just, it was very professional. And I think above everything else, like not necessarily the hard skills that I teach, but the attitude and the manner in which I teach it, I that environment is where I gleaned the most of that from. And so, that's why it blows my mind when I'll have people that will come to class that have trained with like, everybody out there. And there, and I want to take this opportunity to say this, that we live in an era in America where there are more uh, combat hardened guys and gals, in a few cases, gals too, that are willing to teach you what they know about combat in a very relevant way than ever before in American history. Like that's never happened before. That is,
I've hugely benefited from that.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and every American should. Like all these guys that you see them online. Like we're streaming this to X right now. But to all my followers, but you run into all these guys like they're online. You have these online conversations, and you can always tell pretty much immediately, like they're not really on the up and up on the training side of things. Maybe they just like funds are a little tight, or they just don't see the value in it, or whatever. And I'll point this stuff out to them. And sometimes it hits, sometimes it doesn't. If it don't, it don't. Whatever. You just move on, man. Eventually they'll get it. But to everybody that's out there on the fence, like think about it like this. Who would you rather learn from to step into a boxing ring? Would you rather learn from a coach that's never been punched in the face, or would you rather learn from that guy that his nose is laid over to the side, he's got cauliflower ear, he's busted all to pieces? That dude, man, he's been punched in the face a time or two, and that's somebody that you probably could learn a lot from. So I look at it that way, and there are so many incredible trainers out there, like so many incredible trainers. There's some that I mean, whatever. You hear stories and stuff, and the thing is that, man, those guys don't last. Like they're just not gonna last. And all right, whatever. But you will find those people, and I'm telling you, don't be one of those folks too that gets tied down with one trainer. Where like we saw that in eras past, where kind of the Second Amendment community, training into the Second Amendment community, like in the early 2000s, you had Clint Smith, who's just a legend in every single way. You had Kelly McCann, equally a legend, just an incredible guy. Like those two guys, I think above everybody else in the training community are my heroes, because they brought us to where we are today. They're kind of the godfathers of all this, And Clint Smith, really with like his salty approach. But then you had other guys that were like coming out, and they were coming from like some other backgrounds. I don't want to denigrate anybody, especially the law enforcement world, because I got a lot of friends over there. I've trained a lot of law enforcement, but people that like kind of overinflate their resume, and oh well, I'm the greatest man killer you ever met, and there I was. I pulled this one guy over, and he shuffled around in the glove box, and I popped him, and like that's you like you're telling that story in the middle of a class. I mean, this is like I just not like I don't know, man. I think about that kind of thing, but and again, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, and it I'm not talking about maybe who some people might think I am, but it's important that we went from kind of that era where there was just this Colonel Cooper, and then Clint Smith, and then Kelly McCann was kind of doing his own thing, and then Pat Rogers, and like it was this tiny little community, and now it has just exploded. And you've got so many different trainers out there that you just can't even. I mean, you can throw a rock, and so like at the end of the day, people every class they'll come to, they ask me, oh, what do you think about this guy? What do you think about that guy? It don't matter what I think about these people. I don't. honestly, if I've never met someone in person, I don't have an opinion because
I think unless you've been through one of their training classes, it's much harder to form an opinion of them. Like you can see their YouTube videos and whatnot, and you can see them talk, but
yeah,
until you've actually experienced them putting on a class, you don't know.
nah, well, and it's not even that because I'll tell you, like every trainer might have a bad class here and there. Like
Sure.
it just happens. Like they have a bad day or they just that class just didn't vibe for whatever reason. Who knows, man. But and it's some people like they have that personality clash too. They get in class and
Yeah.
they just don't like that instructor right off the bat. They're not gonna get along. Okay. I mean, it's rare, but it has happened to me as well, and that's fine. But the thing is that I've also seen it where guys will come to class and there'll be like a clique of these guys that have been like with training with this other guy or like this guy over here or whatever for a while, and then they show up and they all know each other and they don't want to interact with the other people in class, and I think that's tragic because the
Can
greatest
be.
man the greatest thing about the training community, to dovetail what I was saying about how, there's how many thousands of combat veterans, combat vets, like the dudes who've done the deed, you know, and they're willing to share what they learned in that time with you. And I think that that's an awesome thing. But what's even more awesome is the community that's been built around it. You can't replace that. You can't replace
No.
that, man. I mean, when they talk about like in the 2000s, the Obama, really the 90s with Clinton era, the militia movement and all that got huge. And then, in the 2000s, 2008, Ford, Obama got elected, kind of reignited. Well, didn't kind of, it really did. Kind of, it's brought us to where we are today with the Biden era and everything. But, the greatest part about all that is not the trainers themselves, is the community that's been built around it. And I don't know about you, but I would rather plug into a community that I know is well trained. When we say the spirit of the Second Amendment, well regulated militia, in my mind, that means two things. It means well trained, number one, well trained, and number two, well equipped. You can't have one without the other. Okay. And I mean that in every sense of the world. You could be the best trained dude, have the fastest split time on your build drill, and you're just the bee's knees on a flat range, but you don't have any nods. You don't have any way of fighting in a real low light situation. You don't have a thermal optic. You don't have these things that are fundamental enablers. Hell, I'll say it. You don't have a drone. Okay, that's you don't. Most importantly, you don't have a team around you because you got to sleep sometime. You can't do all this stuff.
Yeah.
There ain't no such thing as a single man buddy team. Like that's not how it works. Yeah.
Take it down to the bare minimum, though. I still to this day, not as often as I did 10 years ago, but I still get side eye from people when I say, hey, the first thing you should buy after you buy a handgun is a
Yeah.
holster, because you ain't get to carry it around in your pocket. The first thing you should buy when you get a rifle is a sling, because you ain't going to carry that around all the time. Then you should start getting magazine shingles and a way to carry ammo and blah, blah, blah. But I still manage to find that one person in every group that looks at me like, why do you need all that? I'm like, why are you buying this stuff? If it's just to go to the flat range and goof off with your friends, then that's your prerogative. But if you get up on the stump and talking about the Second Amendment, then I like to point people right back at like the Militia Act, because that was foundational to our country, and it was very instructive of you're supposed to have arms and ammo and gear and field gear and ways to sustain yourself. It's like it's an 18th century blueprint for what the responsible armed citizen is supposed to have, and it's not that hard to analog it into the current times.
I mean, there are some excellent resources out there. Modern Day Minuteman has like a kit list of what you translate the Militia Act of 1776 into, And it's, it's pretty basic, 6 rifle mags, a rifle, a plate carrier or chest rig, one of the two, if not both. Your belt with a pistol and a holster and 3 spare mags, your med kit, your 3 days of sustainment, food, water, way to purify water.
Socks.
Yeah, change of clothes, stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, they put out a pretty good list. We should go through it one of these days.
Yeah,
I'll add that to the topic list.
It's I mean, there's 100 ways to skin that cat, but but at the end of the day, these are being well trained and well equipped. You have to be well equipped, and I mean,
well, you can't be well trained without the equipment first, to some extent,
true.
Because if you don't practice with your equipment, the practice does you no good.
Yeah, I mean, right. You have to have serviceable equipment, and the thing is too is that what I tell everybody is that your field loadout is going to change. It's going to constantly change. Like it's
absolutely, and it should.
Yeah, because every time you go to the field, you're learning something new. Every time you get that dirt time, you're learning a new skill. You're learning something about yourself. You're learning how to run your gear better. It's and if you're being honest about it, and that comes from training with others, like and having an objective person that's there to evaluate you, rather than 4 Bubbas going into the woods and hey, we ran battle drill 1, we're good to go. And yeah, but did you? Did you? So, it's just the way I see it. But anyway, I think we were kind of sidetracked there. Getting back to kind of origin stories.
A little bit.
That's all right. Sidetrack's the only track we know, man.
Nah, it's cool. I go down 1,000 different rabbit holes like a Viet Cong tunnel. But it's I think what a lot of people know me for is the communication stuff, and I think it's interesting when they'll buy a copy of the book. Guerrilla's Guide to Battlefield Radios sold a lot of copies. It was somewhere north of 200,000 copies last month, and there's about that many rip-off versions of it on Amazon as well. So don't buy any of those. The Guerrilla's Guide to using a Battlefield radio while you're sipping gin in the hood or something like. It's just like, look, M81 cover, very simple. Guerrilla's Guide to Battlefield radio. If it doesn't say NC Scout on it, probably don't buy it. But you get ripped off. But yeah, anyway, that regardless, a lot of people know me for that. That book, and I've had a lot of conversations since then with old friends, and the book's come up. It wasn't written necessarily for a civilian audience. It might sound weird. I was approached to write a manual for essentially stay behinds in Europe. And originally, so it's kind of a convoluted story. Originally, I had a much more comprehensive book on communications written, about I will say a third of the way finished. And it was well laid out. I had a very significant life event happen. Not saying what it was, but it was a good thing. But I had a very significant life event happen, and returned home from that. And Windows had done what Windows does best, and it updated everything, and stuff was lost when it switched from Windows 10 to Windows 11. Yeah, and
that sucks.
It did. But everything works out in the end. Everything's according to his plan, and I got approached to write a manual essentially for what is the most common radio in the world. And so when I wrote it, got it finished, and that's why the mass market version of it looks a little strange. I'll explain why. So originally it was meant to be in a top spiral bound version that's about this. So that version that's up on the store on brushbeater.store, the top spiral bound version, that's actually the original version of it. That's the way that it was supposed to be. And it was going to be distributed with that. So who I wrote this for, so hey, you should probably publish this because I think you'd make a little bit of money off of it, more than what I was getting paid for it. That's I mean, whatever, I like money. And contacted Chris Weatherman, Angry American, very, very close friend of mine. And I would say he knows a thing or two about publishing books. And he steered me in the right direction and got it up, went the self-publishing route, got it up. There were some formatting conflicts with the encryption tables and getting it into a particular format. So I, all right, we're just going to do it live and kick that book out there in its original incarnation, just cut to size. Because literally the encryption tables would not play well with the formatting software. There was no way I was going to get that fixed. And said, okay, bam. But keep in mind that book, and what I really love is you'll get these. Can I say the R word on here? Some people are funny about the R word. Let's say the R word.
Which one's the R word?
Retard, I do believe.
That one, the retarded.
Don't worry, I dropped it first.
Controversial.
Yeah, it's
apparently.
Some people are like, no, don't say that one.
Yeah, we're not making fun of actually mentally handicapped people. We're talking about just retarded people that should know better.
Cousins, nephews, sisters, brother-in-law, babies born cross-eyed. You can't say that. Shut up.
Right.
If you're a fucking retard, you're a fucking retard. Stop it.
It's people that earn it that we're talking about.
Yeah. I mean, every once in a while, it was like there's an account on X that I follow. I get a kick out of him. Really good military humor, but it's the Buddy CSM, the Buddy Command Sergeant Major. He's hilarious. He's got these I
haven't heard of it.
He's got like these tarot cards he puts up called the Duffel Bag Kids, and it's like just memes of different cats from the army. Like, it is. Like Rangerette Rhonda, and she's on a stripper pole. It's like, I love it, dude. I love it. Barracks lawyer Andy or some Barracks lawyer Louis. That's what I love that one too. So we all had that joke. You always got that joke. So, you can't do that to me, Sergeant. Oh yeah, watch. You fix to find out. But he was commenting on the book and was very complimentary. And I'm always honored by that. You have people who are in very influential positions of authority in the Army who follow me, and I'm like, that's awesome. I wasn't ever anything special. I'm not a cool guy at all, and you're following me and asking questions. I'm really honored by that always. Then you get this one guy who's obviously day drinking or whatever, older. Always says older dude. And I'm gonna be nice and say an older dude. Yeah, you could tell he's day drinking by the way he's typing, speed typing, wall of text. And he's just like, go back to Facebook, man. But he's just like, Buck, just not how people normally operate. Nah, and I'm a ham. And then I'm like, I'm an amateur extra, too. Yeah.
Can I just say that since you brought up your book, I've read the thing cover to cover.
Same. Very helpful.
In the interest of full disclosure, because I know that I've seen in the chat, there's a couple of my fellow radio nerds that are in here. Like, I'm not a ham guy. I'm a GMRS guy. And that is strictly because there is a less than 0% chance I'm going to convince my wife to get a ham license or practice with a ham radio. But GMRS, I got her hooked up on because it's for the layperson. But I still to this day recommend the Gorilla's Guide to Baofeng Radio, if not just for the fact that it's specific to the Baofeng radio, but because of all the extra stuff you throw in about like signals intelligence, communication security, and like what I tell people is I'm like, it's not just how to do hood rat shit with a Baofeng. I mean, it is that, but it's not just that. It's
if you're
but
gonna
it's
do
but it's the
hood rat
concept.
shit with a radio, this is how you do it. And I want to tell people
exactly.
You know what? Well, I called that guy a retard. I've called a lot of people retard that say stuff. I just don't care. Like I said, I said at the beginning of the show, I will tell you to your face. You say something dumb, I'm gonna say something dumb back. That's just the way it is. Grab yourself by the balls. Put up with it. Say something back. I grew up in a very blue collar environment, doing commercial landscaping. Then I was enlisted in the Army. Bro, I can handle it. You know, if you can't handle it, that's a you problem, not a me problem. But,
right.
you know, I mean, anyway, ribbing and giving people hell about stuff, you got to do it, you know. But the book is about techniques. It's not about technology. You know, it's if you follow it chapter by chapter, you'll understand. I laid it out in a particular way as well, where you kind of getting the nuts and bolts of the radio itself, what it does, kind of how we define terms, what it does, what it doesn't do, how to kind of, you know, a little taste of breaking you out of your mindset of like, you know, I'm a ham guy, I'm a GMRS guy. Okay, fucking stop. Like, fucking stop. You have a frequency range, okay? This is your frequency range. These are your operating parameters. So sustainment, like, for example, there's 3 categories that I define of communications, all right? There is sustainment communications, which is in like the prepping and survival world. That's what people typically think of. I like using the scenario that most people can wrap their minds around. You know, almost a year ago now, Hurricane Helene, where you know all the infrastructure is essentially wiped out. So how do you how are you going to create a connection to the outside world when you're literally living in the world of Jericho? Basically, like the old TV show Jericho, nuclear bomb goes off. They're like, what the fuck happened? And Shoshana Stern was there looking cute. But yeah, that's a name people haven't heard in a while. She was the deaf girl. So like,
whatever happened to her acting career?
It went away after Jericho.
It sure did.
I think like
she was terrible of a show.
She was playing a fake deaf girl, and like the you know, the people with disabilities got upset about it. They were like, you can't fake having a disability, you know.
And Steven Seagal was never a Navy SEAL, but that didn't stop him.
Well, it's artistic license. You know,
I was going to say
his career. Well, he should have ended his career long ago.
I was going to say.
He's still trying, but it's like
the internet is trying its best to help him along on ending his career.
So
we're trying. He's not taking the hint.
Hey, man, I mean, you know, like all the 80s stars are getting offed by the Grim Reaper, man. You know, I'm just saying, somebody needs to knock on his door and be like, yo, bro, you and Kelly LeBron need to chill. But
I do have to say, since you brought up that side note, I was not prepared for Hulk Hogan dying today, but when I heard Ozzy passed away the other day, I think my reaction was something like, it's a miracle he lasted this long.
Honestly,
I mean, you know,
yeah.
After that many decades of substance abuse, heavy drinking, and hard living, like the fact that he lived to old age is a freaking miracle. They should study him.
They did. Him and Keith Richards, they did a bunch of genetic testing on.
Wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I mean,
turns out higher percentage of Neanderthal DNA.
Yeah. Keith Richards.
So what I'm hearing is that all of us with a very pronounced, you know, upper brow might have an edge in this game called life.
An edge in substance abuse, maybe.
Yeah. Ric Flair's still around. I mean,
Does coffee count?
Coffee.
Yeah,
it
actually does. Yeah.
Okay.
Caffeine is the most abused drug. In fact, believe it or not.
Yes.
I I actually saw a study the other day that said that moderate moderate amounts of coffee every day decreases your all-cause mortality rate and everything else. So I sent that to a couple friends of mine with in all caps, "I am going to live forever."
Yeah, but man, you are well past moderate.
It depends on what your definition of moderate is. I
I'm
mean,
pretty
you know,
sure their
like,
definition of moderate is 2 8-ounce cups of coffee.
you mean this is 8 ounces?
I
No.
drink 24 ounces of espresso every morning, but that's kind of,
Jesus.
yeah. Well, I mean, I don't really drink more than that, you know. Like the rest of the day, I'm good. I used to, even not that long ago, I used to be pretty nasty about uh, drinking. I would drink one energy drink and usually uh, that like double the amount of water with it.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know, man. Since I quit doing that though, and I quit doing it a few months ago, I quit doing that and I started taking methylene blue. And
Hmm.
well, I mean, Pat Miletich, I did an interview with him a few months ago, and you know, he's a friend, and his company, Mineral King, you know, and I had heard people talking about methylene blue and like the health benefits of it and stuff, you know. So, you know, I mean, kind of like methylene blues like dye that we used to use in biology class, like you know,
Yeah, it was.
I mean, when you're doing like DNA testing and stuff,
Yeah.
you know, like but I mean, hey, you know, it's worth a shot, and you know, I mean, and again, my results with it are anecdotal, so you know, obviously, don't take my word for this, but I will say there are a few supplements that I take. I had kind of my exit from the army in Afghanistan. I had a very significant injury. I was in a catastrophic IED. It
Mm.
did a lot. It was 250 pounds of ammonium nitrate that went off. Uh,
Shit.
yeah,
Jesus.
That'll wake you up in the morning.
yeah, it put me to sleep for a little while. Um,
I bet it did.
I was up out of the turret because we were inserting one of our teams, and I was in the lead turret because we were going to be ripping out with them. So they were going to be on this mountainside for 5 days, and we were going up there. We were going to be there for 5 days. Um, Hit that IED. Um, and it threw the mine roller about 100 yards or so from the truck, 100 meters away from
Shit.
us. I'm kind of trying to get out of saying like meters and stuff, just because people, everybody looks at me. I still do it. I mean, I've been out of the army for a long time now, and you know, I still do it. People kind of like, you know, but now that I have to interact with a lot of civilians coming in and out of the store, you know, I try to, and I got a scope line coming out that
Ooh.
that yeah, with Kyber Optics, we're doing everything in MOAs. So I'm
Okay.
trying to like in my brain converting stuff. I saw AppTac USA's comment down below. My buddy way off the res. Yeah, the natural remedies. I know exactly what you're talking about. In case anybody doesn't know, that's a very good friend of mine, Clay Martin, who is
Mm.
author of a whole bunch of books, but Barbarian Spirit is a great one. That is just a fantastic book. And Clay is such a stand up guy in every way. And I don't mean just because the dude's man killer resume, which is, you know, he's fucker's top shelf, uh, you know, just absolute beast of a human being, but as a good man, you know, as
Mm.
a good human and as a good friend, that is somebody who you definitely, you know, want to listen to. But anyway, yeah, talking about some of those. I mean, yeah, he's big into the like the psychedelic stuff. I'm not. Um, yeah, no objection to any of that whatsoever. It's just you know I don't look at it either way or like any of that. It's just for me. Uh, I, being a family man, kind of in you know, and I just don't and running you know my end of business. That kind of thing just isn't really for me. But what I will tell you has been very instrumental for me with my traumatic brain injury. I broke my back in 5 places. Uh,
Oof.
yeah, it was that incident, and on top of other injuries that I've had. I mean, I've got, I've tore both my rotator cuffs. Um, both of my ankles are completely
Mm-hmm.
shot. It's kind of one of the first things people look at. Like if I walk around with Crocs, they look at my ankles and like, oh God, it's like, I mean, they look like beat hamburger meat. It's just,
Oof.
it's just it. I mean, it is what it
Hey,
is, man. It
it's
comes with the territory.
Ruckin will do that.
Yeah.
It does,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, just the lifestyle does it. You don't recover very well. You kind of just
Mm-hmm.
fight through injuries and they pile up. But anyway, I mean,
Yeah.
it got to a point where I couldn't do what I was there to do, what I was hired to do, really any
Right.
longer, and I couldn't hide it. There was no way I could conceal any of that, even though I was trying my best to fight through it. And
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, when you have people saying, "Hey, you know, you need to go over here," and
Yeah.
you're getting checked out, and then you kind of get the dreaded, like you're going to get shuffled from place to place.
Mm.
I don't know, man. It definitely was changes in career, and I kind of
Mm-hmm.
I got to chill for my last year in the army, where I was going somewhere just supervising units in the army, and that was cool. Like it I hated it on one hand because that was never where I wanted to be. But on the
Right.
other hand, I got a front row seat to learning some very cool stuff that I wouldn't have known otherwise. That kind of between that and guys that we were working with in Afghanistan, multifunction teams that were the red hot intel dudes that were going with us, because we were doing everything from the traditional LURS mission to direct action to interdicting targets, time sensitive targeting with cell phones. Like we were doing all that stuff. Because Special Operations Task Force South in Afghanistan was shorthanded, and we had the guys who could step up into that role. So that's what we were doing,
Sure.
and it was just such a cool thing. Like, so I learned a lot of the SIGINT stuff from just being in and around the dedicated SIGINT guys that were running around with us, because we're just training nonstop in between missions.
Right.
I soaked up every second of it, and then going to where I worked finally in the Army, I got to see a higher echelon of that being fielded and got read on to some things and was like, oh, wow,
Mm.
like this is, and then had the opportunity to go to an actual school for it. And was like,
Oh.
oh, dude, this is really, really cool. When they brought the combat hunter course over to the Army, the Marine Corps had the combat hunter course, which was incredible. Like it had David Scott Donlan in it, who's one of the instructors, who's Rhodesian Celis Scout, and
Mm.
him, Greg Williams, who's a retired Detroit homicide detective. Um, and he had led the counter IED task force in Kandahar, as on doing it as a criminal investigation. So you had,
Well, that makes a lot of sense.
oh yeah, yeah. I mean, you had this all-star list of guys who were just rock stars, and they were running the combat hunter course for the Marine Corps. They brought it over to the Army. They gave it kind of a different name, but it was the same course. And I got to go to that first, and then I became an instructor for it. And I took away a lot of the stuff that we were doing in there. And there's a book that you can find on Amazon called Left of Bang. That literally is the course. I
Yes.
forgot the guy's name that wrote it. He was one of the instructors there, but I'm totally speaking off.
I've got to check on Audible. I've definitely listened to it on there.
That's the coursework for that course, and
Nice.
that is a wealth of information in there. When you're talking
Mm-hmm.
about awareness and threat awareness,
Yeah.
that's how you do it. If the ability to visualize threats in your environment before they pose a threat to you, based on heuristics and indicators.
Yeah, recognizing pre-attack indicators
Yeah.
and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yes. That is the term. Such cool stuff, man. And so being able to throw that into kind of in a small way into the Guerrilla's Guide to Battlefield Radio, because that is an operating manual. It's an operating manual that is it applies like the antenna chapter. That applies to any kind of radio, man. It's just like it doesn't.
Oh, it definitely does.
The frequency ranges, the data tables that are on there, that applies to anything. It is not specific to a radio, man. So like I tell people, the only the first two chapters really apply to the Battlefield, and like a little bit in chapter 6, which is the digital operations chapter, just because of the equipment that we use. But I mean, if you get an APRS cable for like a Yaesu or something, the technique's the same. Like it doesn't change. You're running a PSK 31 on a HF radio. It's the same. You're doing the same thing, and breaking, using the trigrams and breaking those down, breaking a message down, using those. Guess what, hams? You do that in the ham radio world too. You just call it Q codes. That's all it is. Same thing. Right? You're just using it. That's actually where the Q codes came from originally.
I believe it.
That was the reason. The Q codes were the civilian side of shorthand, and they used that in a broader sense with the rest of the alphabet. They had a mechanical computer called Sig Sally. The ASA, which became the NSA later on, they had a mechanical computer called Sig Sally, and it created these data tables with 4 rotating dials. So you had 3 letters, and then you had the word, and it would create these tables with a finite number of combinations, and it would print that data out. And then that became your key, and that was all part of a CEOI. So I mean that, and then I throw some of that into Guerrilla's Guide to Signals Intelligence, but at the end of the day, people get so hung up on technology that they miss the point on techniques. And I think that, to me, that's the most annoying thing about the gun community, the radio community.
Absolutely.
It's just like, hey, man, like dudes get all hung up on like, whatever brand du jour of AR-15. They're all like, dude, I mean, are you fucking serious? Like, is it a serviceable weapon or not? Like we don't need to get into.
I've run poverty ponies. I've run $3,000 ARs. I can make them all run.
You make them all run.
And nothing I have handled in all my years as a civilian has even approached being half as clapped out as that M16A2 I carried in Iraq.
Oh yeah. Dude,
nothing is even approaching as clapped out as that wretched old thing was.
Well, no doubt.
I would have done the world a favor bashing it on a rock to put it out of its misery.
It probably wouldn't have made it any worse.
But I mean, you get these little troons online. They use, keyboard commandos and whatever, and they ain't got nothing but negative things to say. You never see these guys. You never see them in the real world. You never see them in a class. You never see them in they're the first ones to speak up. Like, for example, nothing's ever good enough for these cats. So, like, I got a set of ENVGs right here. There we go. Right? So ENVGs, thermal bridge with nods. Like, you got a couple of sets of those in, doing T&E on them. Yeah, they're very expensive. You put up a little bit about that is the we probably all seen the meme of like the dude under nods who's peeing and he's glowing. Like that's what that is. That's the system. These cats that are on there like that's too expensive. Well, no shit.
Well,
no shit.
Yeah, quality's expensive,
dude. Like, yeah, this isn't a flex on anything. I'm trying to where we are as a company. With Brush Reader Store Incorporated, where we are with the company is trying to find the best equipment solutions to equip you. So right now, actively, things that I'm working on, we have an optics line that's coming out that is tailor-made for a civilian audience. I'm not concerned with chasing contracts. I'm not concerned with being the coolest guy in the world. It's hey, do you have functional gear? That's what I'm worried about. I've been in the night vision game for a long time now. On the professional side of the house, and now on the retail end, teach it, have a class for it. Trying to figure out how we can up the game on night vision, but do it in a way that is affordable to the common man. Because, like, here's the deal, man. I've got nods ranging from Gen 2, the Wolf 14's Gen 2 tubes, very lightweight, and it's kind of the lower end of the expense spectrum. I say is the very entry level. I personally, if I'm gonna run a single tube, it's obviously gonna be PVS 14. But hey, man, like that is kind of the least expensive way to get into it. Don't waste your time and money on digital shit, because that's you're there. I have not seen a digital unit yet that had any sort of build quality. I'm talking digital night vision, not digital thermal. All thermals digital. But I have not seen a digital night vision unit yet that was built with any sort of build quality in mind to it. I have not seen one yet that I can walk and detect threats in real time. And I've used it.
It's got that much lag
Oh
time?
yeah. Oh yeah. Look, 1 second
And the battery
and
life
battery life.
is absolutely
Yeah.
atrocious. Well, I mean, compared to a PVS 14, you can run off of a friggin' AA for like, what, 20 to 40 hours worth of runtime?
It's worth saving your money. Okay. So,
Yeah.
what did I do? Like I work with a lot of different companies that are out there, including the tube manufacturers themselves, Elbit and L3, trying to source whatever we can, and keep that cost to you as low as possible as we can be allowed to do. And that's that. And and I've got upmarket clients too. I mean, we sell everything in between, all the way up to PVS 31 alphas. So and I recognize, man, like your average person is somewhere in between, right? But if we can begin to develop technology, or in this case, take existing technology and see if we can figure out ways to make this more accessible to the common man, why not do that? Why not jump on that? I think you absolutely should. So I see Earl of South asking, is L3 deprioritizing tubes to the civilian market? Short answer is they are prioritizing contracts. There is a lot of rumor floating around. Some of it does have some validity, some of it doesn't. And what I will say, Earl is a corgi appreciator, and somebody that I've followed. You followed me for a long time, brother. There's a lot of market volatility, but don't let that scare you. Okay, don't let that scare you, because here's the deal: Photonis is putting out good tubes, and hell, I'll say it. I'll say it right now, and this might draw some heat, but it is what it is. NNVT is not bad as far as what they're putting out. It's not bad. So I mean, in NNVT, it is a Chinese company. Like full disclosure on that. But here's the deal: uh, you get a device, NNVT tubes, and I've seen a few of them come through the store. Take a look through them. I didn't have a problem with them. They were auto gated. The glass was very good on the build itself. These were PVS 14s that had come in, and the image quality was solid. It damn sure looked better than the 7 Deltas I was running when I was in Kirkuk. I know that. So I mean, I'm just saying, and again, that was 06, 07 for OIF 5. But obviously technology's changed a bit since then. But my point is that, look, it with night vision, you want to go analog, you want to have analog tubes, and there are ways to save money out there. I mean, there's guys that are selling perfectly serviceable used nods on secondhand market a lot. Shout out to N7 Narcosis on X. He's a friend. He's got CIB as well. Um, I would say if you're in the market for used nods, he's got a lot of down market stuff that he comes across. It's just it's like it's a hobby of his where he'll get in like Gen 2 ish, like Photonus tubes, like the Photonus Omni tubes, and he'll turn around and flip them, like $2,500 or whatever. Hey, I mean, like, yeah, I'm in business of selling nods. I sell a lot of stuff. But I mean, look, if you're gonna buy a second hand, and I don't always recommend people do that, not sight unseen, but he's somebody that I suggest people talk to because he's very knowledgeable. He has worked in the industry, and this is kind of a hobby of his. I think he's doing everybody a solid on that.
Nice.
So yeah, I mean, there's so many resources out there for night vision. Again, I don't want to throw any corner of the internet under the bus. There are some corners you probably ought to stay out of, but this is another good question just popped up in here. I gotta ask because every time somebody night vision experience comes on, what's your opinion on weapon mounted / clip on night vision optics? So excellent entry level question there. That's one that I could literally talk all night on. Don't do it with a PVS 14. Kind of, we'll get.
It's not what they're designed for. First off,
right? It's you can get away with it on a 5.56, but nothing else, and that's kind of a maybe depending on the build quality. So night vision and thermal are two different things. People conflate the two. They are both surveillance, target acquisition, and night observation devices. However, thermal can be used day or night. And what we have in terms of thermal, even entry level thermal, it's sub $1,000 in form of the AGM Rattler 256 line. I think blows away like the past 13 that we had back in the day. It blows away. There's no question. Technology is just way better, and going up market a bit to the 384 or like some of the 320 series optics. I mean, you're talking about a lot of bang for the buck right there. A lot of bang for the buck. But clip-ons on weapons, I am a big fan of thermal clip-ons on weapons. Night vision, not so much. I do carry them. I have a PVS 30 in stock right now, and I have a couple of white phosphor night vision clip-on units from Armasight that are in stock. The Vulcan series is in stock right now. What I'll tell you is that night vision certainly has its strengths, particularly white phosphor night vision. Clipping it on a weapon is a huge enabler, particularly if you are in a static position. All right, so if you're doing something like still hunting, I love coyote hunting. It's a pastime of mine. I've got coyote skulls around in here, but I also have cattle, so it's kind of a way of life. But thermal is really supplanting the night vision clip-on market, if you will. There's just no question. Thermal is for target detection. Thermal really is the king, and you're going to be so much happier with it. So my thoughts on it for something like coyote hunting, for target detection, using it as an enabler. Yeah, it's an absolute must. Running night vision on as a clip on a decade ago, I would have had a different opinion on it because back a decade ago, I thought the PVS 30 was literally the shit, and it was and it is. But and it still is. But thermal is a less expensive way to get into it, which is going to yield probably more productive results for you. And when I mean less expensive, I mean substantially less expensive, like potentially thousands of dollars less. When I bought my first
Hmm.
PBS 30, it was I want to say it was like 5,500 or something like that. It was, it wasn't a small amount of money, and
Right.
Mm-mm.
my my go to thermal that I have. Oh, oh, it's over on my rifle back over there. Well, it is. Whenever I hear coyotes start calling, I just get out there on
Yeah.
a wounded rabbit call, call them out into the field and just, you know. But it it's that's an Armacite Jockey Sticks
Hmm.
40, and I've beat the crap out of that thing, and very very happy with it. Now I'm kind of running an unorthodox setup with it. I have a mini red dot that is mounted on my
Mm.
rifle, and the thermal in front of that as a clip on.
Interesting.
Uh, the reason for that setup, what I found was on a 13.7 AR, even though I have a 12-inch rail on it, and you've got a lot of retail space up there
Right.
with a larger optic, you run into some issues with rail space and having too much weight out in
Mm.
the front. And if I've already got a laser out there too, I mean,
Right.
one on that rifle, there's a PEC 15, but I've got some other lasers as well, designated RV, and a WLAD on one that's floating around in one of the safes in here.
Hmm.
But that rifle's a PEC 15 but with that setup, um, what I found was I particularly like stalking. It's something
Hmm.
I like doing. If I can stalk a wild animal that is a predator, and so every piece of its genetic lineage leading up to that moment in time has been built around its ability, one, to detect threats that might kill it in
Hmm.
its infancy that pose threats to it, but also that it can get the drop on prey animals, right? Because deer run infinitely faster than a coyote does.
Oh yeah.
You know, cows will kick the crap out of a coyote if they get up on them. Turkeys
Hmm.
can outrun coyote. Like a coyote is really undergunned because it works
Hmm.
really well as a teamed ambush predator, right? So
Hmm.
if I can stalk that creature, if I can defeat every one of its senses getting
Hmm.
up on it, then I'm the apex predator. And so
Absolutely.
when like I love having this conversation. I'll blow like the tactical kids' minds in the scout course when I just like walk up on them out of nowhere. Like, how'd you do that? Like they're way they're trying to roll through the woods wearing like 50 pounds of shit that they don't need.
Practice.
Yeah, you got mags on top of mags, and they end up
Hmm.
taking a lot of that crap off by the end of the class because it's all straight uphill, straight downhill. They're like, you ain't lying, it's uphill in every direction. Like, yeah, but I mean, I walk up on them wearing a fucking nightcap, and nods. And it's like, hey, what are you doing? Yeah, ah. But I mean, if you can defeat that animal's senses, then you are the apex predator. So hunting
Mhm.
any other threat, because in essence, that's what combat is, right?
Oh,
That's what
absolutely.
moving in a fire team is. That is what we do. We are ambush predators. That's what we are. And so if I can use my environment and I can tune myself to be an effective stalker to make that kill, then I'm the apex predator. You know, it's that's it in a nutshell. It's the most primal thing, and it doesn't matter whether I have a fucking spear in my hand or I have a rifle. Like, it doesn't matter. It's the same thing, you know. So it's what I found is for that style of hunting and that style of the environment in which I live, which I have 1,000-meter range on my farm. which is very rare for this part of North Carolina. It's very rare in most of North Carolina, but I have one, and that is it's because it's all pasture land, and it's old.
It's all been clear cut.
Yeah. It was hay fields going back 4 generations, but
Yep.
most of the environment here is very tight. You've got draws, you've got hills, it's wooded, your line of sight is 25 to 50 meters at best. When you get into the creek bottoms, it's thick. You've got briars everywhere. You don't we're not making necessarily those long shots. And the optics conversation is a great one. Because every weapon needs to have its role in the larger team. But I used to, kind of an introspective thing, I used to really look down on red dots. I was like, I mean, the M68, it was out, and it was like, because the ACOG, we all got ACOGs, and, all the good shooters got ACOGs. And it was just like, dude, this little 4-power sight's just the shit, And even though the ACOG has some drawbacks, I mean, eye relief is not great on the ACOG, especially by today's standards. The eye box itself is very, you got to be just right on
Small.
that weapon. And it got to the point that all us guys with ACOGs, when we were doing CQB, we wouldn't even look, in the optic itself. We'd have the little doctor optic that was on the back. And none of those survived. All of them got broke off. Like those, I mean, you just knocked them things off. But even with like the little shield they had for them, like this was pre Trigicon RMR. These were the doctors, but which I don't know if doctors even still around. I think Trigicon might have bought them or something. I don't know.
I couldn't tell you how long it's been since I've seen or even heard of one.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I can picture it in my mind, but I have never seen one in person.
Yeah, but dude, we would just put the weapon up, and when we'd put the weapon up, just wherever your hand was pretty much where you were aiming. With the M4,
right?
You had that front sight post that you just painted on the chest, and it just became reflexive. And like what we would do is we did this in Iraq too. We set up shoot houses, and we would take like an E-type silhouette. You cut the center out of it, you blow up a balloon, and hang the silhouette on the balloon. And so we would just run that drill in between missions. We're just going in a center fed room, pop, pop, and like doing that until we got super proficient at it. And that's what you're doing. So it there was all of that, and now but like the guys with the M68s didn't really have that problem. Then the EOTech came out, the 552 Classic. I broke 2 of those, and so typically if I break something once, I might give it another shot. If I break it twice, and I'm not saying that bad necessarily about EOTech. That's just my experience. I broke 2 of them, and where did it break? I'm sure some people are probably wondering. If you cut your EOTech off and actually lift it up and look into it, and you'll see that piece of glass that is the reflector that reflects the hologram up right there. It just those and part of it might have been the SIG 552 at that point, or the SIG 552. I got the 320 on my brain. The EOTech 552 Classic. That they call it now, the one that ran on AA's. Those that we got will run hard and put up wet anyway. I think that was probably part of it. But at the same time, that is a point of failure. And if 2 pieces of equipment have the exact same point of failure in them, well, and I know like plenty of dudes run EOTechs and have run EOTechs and absolutely love them, swear by them. Hey man, that's cool. Like the EOTech Voodoo, very, very cool optic. Nothing against that at all. Again, not saying anything about them as a company, but that particular product is just like, So then like later down the road, I started really seeing the value. And I was teaching fighting carbine, and I, originally running the fighting carbine course, I was running it with an ACOG, um, because that's what I know, that's what I'm very comfortable with, and that's the setup that I'm running. Well, you're constantly looking for ways to get faster, and in the competitions and stuff, with prismatic optics, just never going to be as fast, particularly within that 100-meter envelope. And so, between that setup on the AR and kind of doing a little bit of competing here and there, teaching some classes, and also the great results that I have with the AK running a mini red dot on an Ultimac rail up front. I have a couple of AKs that are that setup. Started really revisiting the idea, man, and lo and behold, like where we are with red dot optic technology today versus where we were even 5 years ago is really impressive. Really impressive. And so like there's a lot of variants of compact dot optics that are out there. There's a ton of them. Primary Arms makes them. The Aimpoint Acro, which is kind of like starting to take the place of the T2. And Lucid, and we have our version too, the Kyber Optics MDO. And the thing is that the technology of where we are with it, of what we can, like how much utility we can squeeze out of this tiny footprint, and then use it with like a clip-on thermal, or just have this super lightweight weapon, and have an ultralight weapon that I can still make snapshots. Because I know there's going to be a couple of guys that are probably listening to the show right now, or will be, and they were here for this. We had a class going on that I was hosting. Someone else was teaching it, and here at in the classroom, just up the road, and coyotes were calling. I had cows that were calving at the time, and the coyotes are starting to they're calling, and they're a menace. It's just like, man, if you've never seen what a pack of 3 or 5 coyotes can do to a calf, a newborn calf, in a short amount of time, man, that's and I'm talking about now. I'm dealing with many months of loss because of the mother cow may die because her calf is dead, because that does happen. Cows get depressed and they just die. I had one unfortunately last year that happened, but also now if she does survive, now I got to breed her back again, and we're talking another the whole gestation cycle yet again. And so I'm really losing almost 2 years now out of this cow. So, and maybe the whole cow itself, and I can't have that. So anyway, we got out there. Me and one of the guys that's in class, he's been through a lot of classes with me, and I trust him as a shooter. And I was getting ready to go, and he's like, "Hell yeah, I want to go, man!" So like we get out there. Well, I see one coyote moving, and she's moving. It was a female. She was moving. I didn't know that until after I killed her. She's moving laterally in front of me, probably 200 or so out. And I'm uphill from her, and she could smell me. So she sat for a second. And it was kind of like, what's this? And she got up to move, like, hey, I'm going to get out of here. And then she started picking up steam, and I just let her with the dot and popped her. And that was using that Armacite Jockey 640. And caught her, and she almost got into a full sprint, and I caught her, and round went right behind her left shoulder. It's a perfect heart shot, came out the front, spun her over, and dropped her. I ran down the hill, and there were 2 more that were there, and I killed one of them. and the other one got away from me before I could take that next shot. But
Hmm.
he disappeared over the interrupted viewing line. But point is that really to me, because I had taught classes with that setup and I was happy with it. That taught me though that this setup is very viable in a combat scenario because
Absolutely.
Coyote's not shooting back at me, but every other principle absolutely applies to this, you know.
Moving target in bad conditions.
And it was foggy.
Yeah.
Like that was the other thing.
Yeah.
It was foggy, you know. So fog is detrimental to thermal, absolutely to night vision as well, but
Mm-hmm.
really I would say more so with thermal because you have a temperature differential there between the moisture
Right.
in the air and the air itself. And so it kind of masks everything and it starts to wash out thermal images. But I was still able, and that's the difference too. Like people talk about, like the difference between 256 versus a 320 or a 384 versus a 640, and now with the knock picks, we've got a 1280 that I have in stock, kind of going top end of the market. Those environmental changes are really where you're going to see the difference because when you have a higher resolution core, you also are going to have a better thermal sensor that's in it as well. And so I would say right now, the one that's probably the very best on the market is the Envision Knox series and the Halo series. I don't have any of the Halos in stock right now, but the we do with the Knox 18, the Knox 35. Those are the very best. If you want the very best thermal that's on the market right now, handmade in America, um, that's the one. They're expensive. I get it. It's like a little sticker shock with.
Best always is.
But I'm telling you, but they're not the most
Yes.
expensive on the market.
Sure.
Not the most like everybody loves the RH25 from IRA for a lot of good reasons. It's an awesome optic, right? It's it can be used as a clip on. You can use it, you can wear it. It's handheld, like it's so cool, and we sell a lot of them. But when you're talking about raw capability, I would say that the Knox 18 beats it.
Interesting.
And beats it in price too, by the way. The RH25 is the one everybody kind of knows because like famous dudes on YouTube, like the gun channels and stuff, don't review. And, I mean, and that's cool and all, and I mean, obviously that's the market is what it is, but I'm telling y'all right now, like to anybody that's gonna watch a show and you're thinking about thermal, check out the Knox 18. Seriously, the Knox 18, the Knox 35. Check those two out because they are, in terms of imaging capability, I think that they edge the RH25 out. And they do all the same things. Like you can wear it. It has a Wilcox dovetail mount on it, so you can wear it on your face. You can mount it on a weapon. You can use it as a standalone thermal scope if you want to. It's really really cool.
All right. So I know that at the brush beater store, I know that there's a lot of comm stuff, a lot of night vision, a lot of thermal. What else have y'all really like dipped your toe into? Because like I'm fairly familiar with your training. I've read your book cover to cover, and I recommend it to everybody who even breathes the word radios.
Honestly, it's even applicable on cell phones and a few other things.
I've actually made that point before that like if you back up to like 30,000 feet, you start thinking about comm security and signals intelligence in terms of concepts. You could apply that to your social media footprint.
Probably should apply it to your social media footprint.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
For a lot of reasons.
But
for
like
a lot of reasons, everybody gets so wrapped around the axle when it comes to like privacy. But then they listen to people like Naomi Brockwell and stuff. You know, which is awesome. You know, you should be. She puts out a lot of solid stuff, but you got to think like, okay, so I'm listening to Naomi Brockwell or you know, you pick any of the other people, you know, but how are you interacting with them? Like, how are you watching their content on a Google hosted platform, which knows where you are, which you had to log into in some way or another? Oh, but I just watched it. I didn't log into it. Yeah, it's still got your IP address.
It has your MAC
What?
address and the device ID, which is tied to your credit card, which knows where you live.
And guess what? Everybody's like, oh, but I use Tor when I do everything. Yeah, but your MAC address doesn't use
Look,
Tor.
one of our patrons who I hope hears this and chuckles is almost notorious. We use Signal. We have a little chat. He's notorious in this chat for always reminding everybody, I am never going to type anything into this little murder screen that I don't want blown up in 6-foot tall lettering at my trial. And it is like it's tongue in cheek, but
it's really not though.
Well, okay. It's tongue in cheek to me because I assume things like in my friend group, I assume those things go without saying.
Yeah, it really should.
Yeah, you shouldn't even have to say stuff like that. But I mean, you know.
But I'm also reminded frequently that not everyone is on the same level in their little journey.
Well,
you know, there are some people that are just newer to this and they need to be told, don't type things in you don't want, you know, repeated back to you in public.
Know, like again, everybody is so wrapped around the axle with like the privacy, security, anonymity topic. The thing is what you're doing. There's, and I'm trying to think of it like the gentlest way to say this, because people end up getting
Matt gentle.
Yeah, no, nah, but because people get cognitive overload when they have an end state in mind, and usually in interpersonal conversations we have about a 3-minute time span or attention span rather, 3-minute time frame on our attention span. That's what I was trying to say. Say it TBI sometimes comes out, but the thing about it is that they begin to get cognitive overload because they don't understand the technology involved, and they don't understand not just the technology but the ways the technology is being utilized against them. And so they begin to get overloaded with it, and their end goal in mind is just a simplistic answer. You know, well, I just want something to do. Well, the point is something that I said earlier in the show. You know, it's technique, not technology. The secret to privacy, quote unquote, security, quote unquote, anonymity is adding layers and compartmentalizing things. So, you know, you and I may converse via Signal or, you know, whatever, Telegram, WhatsApp. It doesn't. Those three, I mentioned those three purposefully because they all have about the same amount of security. Yeah, they do. Like anybody in the comments is probably like, no, but they Signal telling me it's the cat. No, it's not. No. You mean to tell me you trust the CEO of NPR, Catherine Marr? And maybe you need to look into who funds the Signal Foundation, because it ain't you. Okay, or maybe it is. Well, it's your tax dollars. But they don't build something that they don't have complete control over. Okay, period. And a story. And you don't think that all the fact checkers that are looking into Signal, oh, we audited the code. You don't think that maybe they were paid to say that and shill that? Just because you don't have the ability to do that. And it's just speaking to the people out there. Just because
I've said it. I've said it on the show a bunch of times. If you send it digitally, assume it is being tracked, traced, databased, and sifted through by our government and 6 others.
The goal is compartmentalization and obscuring the nature of the relationship. So, you know, like, just going back to Afghanistan, you know, our SIGINT guys just pulled in all this data all the time, right? scooping up. They got the Hoover vacuum cleaner flying in the sky, ISR birds. They got the Goonie birds are flying around. They're getting all this, RF traffic, cell phone traffic, all this stuff, right? Yeah, but then we have to begin to build the nature of the relationship between all these people. And maybe all the same people utilizing different devices. Well, and that's a difficult task. So, for example, I may converse with the two of you via Signal for the nature of getting on this show, which is, a white side communication. I'm here.
Right.
This is me. We're on all our platforms, YouTube, X, wherever, right? Rumble, wherever. Cool. But maybe we're going to have a conversation. Like everybody knows we're having this conversation. This is white side communications.
Yep.
The nature of it's known. The people are known. Right? The purpose is largely known. We're having a podcast. We're, random bearded dudes are bullshitting about nothing. Okay, cool. Talking about coyote hunting shit. But maybe I want to converse with us three in a more private sense, maybe about a specific topic. Right. So we set up instead of setting up a new device itself, or utilizing the same device itself, rather, we're going to go set up maybe a new device like a Wi-Fi tablet that hasn't been contaminated in any other way. And I'm going to do this, in a public space, and I'm going to utilize another messaging means that's far more obscure, right? Something like Session or Wire. Wire has some issues with it from on the security front. Session's a little bit better. But we're going to look at one of those, right? And this is what you call red side communications, where maybe if one of the three of us gets compromised or our device gets compromised in any way, whoever is monitoring us doing our profiles is going to know who we are, but they're not necessarily going to know the nature of our association or what we're talking about. Right. So, they don't know what the purpose behind it is. Red side communications are more tactical in nature. It's a specific thing that I'm setting up. And once that's done, poof, we're out of here. And then, of course, that leads you to black side communications. So, black side, you don't know who the actors are. You don't know the nature of the association. And this has got the highest amount of security with it. For that, a lot of people, there's a lot of different apps that are popping up that are decentralized messaging apps that use store and forward through different nodes that are distributed around the world. Kutch is one of these. Element is one of these. Simplex is yet another one. Those are backboned through Tor, by the way. So they're utilizing store and forward network through Tor. These are all really good. Here's the thing: is that in the examples I mentioned earlier for Whiteside, like WhatsApp, Telegram, Signal, those require your phone number to sign up. And so you're immediately giving them a piece of metadata that is specifically assigned to you, right? Red side communications, the ones that I mentioned, Session is a really good example of this. I utilize it, kind of almost for me, that's white side now because of the amount that I utilize it. That's one that creates a hash for you, and you utilize that, and you can create as many hashes as you want. So it's you're not limited on your account. You can create all these different aliases. The others on black side communications that I mentioned, Briar is really good. People were making a big deal the other day. It was about a week ago. Jack Dorsey made an announcement that he was going to develop some app that could use Bluetooth peer-to-peer chat, and I laughed at it. Like, we already have that. It's called Briar.
Yep.
We've already got that. I've run classes where I've taught people to use it. We've utilized it for a purpose in that manner. So, it's we don't need it. But Dorsey he's what he's trying to do is a pump and dump scam is what he's doing. That's all those things are anymore. But just understand like your compartmentalization of communications. You need to compartmentalize things. All right, I see the question here. Dumbass Texas redneck. I bet you ain't a dumbass. Um,
he is not.
He is not. Okay. It depends on how you define dumbass. He's the smartest dumbass I've ever met.
Oh, yeah.
And also the oldest. He was at the Alamo.
The construction, not the defense.
Oh.
Yes. But yeah, he dropped this question like an hour and a half ago, and we got to talk about comms, and I remember it. I meant to throw this in.
Yeah,
But yeah, he was asking about like what your opinion is about mesh testing, because I think he's doing some experiments with it right now.
Really?
Mm-mm. No, here's why. One, so there's no ComSec with it, number one. None.
Okay.
None. There's none. Okay. So like, all right, you'll get all these mental hoops that people will jump through because they just worship at the altar of Meshtastic. Number one, Meshtastic people are fucking lazy. You're fucking lazy. Stop it. Like you're fucking lazy. You don't understand, and you can quote me on that one. You're too lazy to understand how RF actually works. And so you just want some widget that you're just attaching yourself to. Okay. I'm sorry. I don't walk around with a beacon on me. Like that's just dumb. Hey guys, let's go out here and run and gun through the woods. Oh, I'm gonna put this beacon on my head, white light beacon. Hey, that's what you're doing. Any competent adversary that's running in this day and age, you paid attention to Ukraine for all of 5 minutes, you're gonna see that their task organization, one of the guys in their platoon is tasked with looking at a tiny SA, which is a spectrum analyzer. Guess what they're looking for? Oh, man.
900 megahertz, right?
Yeah. And so I'll give you a little fun anecdote about this. This is one that I haven't really told in public. I don't know if I necessarily should, but why not? We're here. So Robin Sage, right? Everybody's familiar with Robin. Well, most people are probably familiar with Robin Sage. Final exercise for SF. I'll get to you, Stuart Keith.
Hold on. That is
Texas
dumbass Texas.
Yeah, same guy.
Okay.
He went from YouTube to Facebook.
Disaster? No. Again, no. All right. So after Hurricane Helene, I made 3 individual trips up the mountain, teaching people to use radios and dropping off equipment. And you tell me how many people up there were using some Meshtastic widget piece of garbage versus how many people were using standard VHF radios to hit the Mount Mitchell repeater, which is the highest point in North Carolina, right? That repeater individually was the lifeline for tens of thousands of people. And how many people didn't know how to use it and could have used it, and it could have been a lifesaver and was a lifesaver for tens of thousands of people. You can't say that for any other thing. And so with the Meshtastic stuff, it's only lazy people that advocate that. And they give you some stupid word salad workaround with it. Well, but this is, but that. Stop it. Learn to use your equipment. There is no situation that you can come up with, none that I have seen yet. And guess what? I do this professionally, and I wrote the books on it. There is not one situation that you can apply that piece of technology to that isn't done better by something conventional. Not one, not a single one. So if you want to sit and play hobby and, just do stuff, you want to be Dr. Brown, just doing stuff in your garage because you can, hey, knock yourself out, man. But you're getting in the way when you start having these conversations. You get in the way of people doing legitimate things that have a practical application. So don't do that. You know, just full stop. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your money. Stay away from it. Is just it no practical application. You know, and the same goes for any of the other widgets that quote unquote mesh. No, I'm sorry. You're attaching a beacon to yourself. And and here's the thing too. You're gonna fight like you train. Okay. You're gonna fight like you train. So this is a 2A podcast that we're on right now. So we've been talking about training, and we've been talking about the application side of training. So you're gonna fight like you train. You get out the results that you put in. And if I'm sitting there and I don't actually learn my equipment the right way, the correct way, how to utilize it in and out, how do you think you're going to be able to do that when the situation is real? You're not. Period. You're not. So it like it blows my mind, and it's at least once a week these people send me this crap, you know, and but this, like. Okay, and then by off chance you get to meet these people, and they're exactly what you expect. They're exactly what you expect, and you're like, well, you know, okay, you obviously you live in your basement because your skin ain't seen sunshine in a decade, homie. Living off of Tyson chicken fingers, and
There is a group of people out there right now that are so upset with
Hey,
you.
I am currently in a basement.
I don't have a basement because South Louisiana, we don't have those
But
things.
your
You ain't got
basement's a
that.
swimming pool.
yeah,
I mean, if I had a basement, it'd be a swimming pool. I mean, if I had a basement, literally the water line would be about right here.
I mean, it's a topic that gets me worked up because every encounter that I've ever had with it. I mean, I've had guys that they brought those devices to class. They're very easy to jam. Like, this is another thing. So say you are going to deploy something like that for a tactical purpose, you know, and then you start pressing them on questions like, "Hey, what's the noise figures on that device?" What's that? Well, essentially, that's how strong of a signal it can handle before it burns the final out. So, yeah. So here's the thing.
I will say, Matt, if you ever met Stuart in person, you two could probably get along.
You would
really
love
well.
Stuart.
No,
I don't.
It's
I don't think he was born with feelings.
No, Stuart asks questions like that because he wants someone like you to explain it in the most eloquent way possible to all of the rest of us. Because I'm going to be honest, I've looked into the mesh-tastic. Who was it that was on that was telling us about it, Phil? Was it the guy that started Prepper Camp, wasn't it? I think it was.
Yes.
Because he was talking about the different beacon systems on it and all that. And I have to admit, I was a little intrigued by it because I had never heard of it before. And I looked into it, and it didn't give me anything that a ham radio didn't already give me.
I looked into it just far enough to decide that I was not interested enough to expend a lot of like time, money, and energy in that direction.
It's just lazy.
That was the same thing.
It's lazy people that are chasing SEOs. Is all it is. Yeah. Like, hey, you don't know, for the people that don't know internet speak, SEO, search engine optimization. They're just chasing buzzwords. Use keywords with search engines, and then you know your name comes up and you get 1 billion hits or whatever. You profit off. That's all it is. So you know, again, not gonna say any more than I've said about anything. Just you gotta see it for what it is. So you know, whenever you see a quote unquote video about mission networking, it's so cool. Just know
it seemed like a cruise ship hack.
Yeah,
like they've been doing that on cruise ships since cell phones have been around.
So going back to my Robin Sage story. Every once in a while, I'm known to make an appearance on one of the lanes, and from time to time, just, I've got a lot of friends in that community and stuff. But go down there and kind of playing the role of, playing a role in it, as the guerrilla commo guy that's visiting from, another sector and whatever. And like the first question is because I see that they've got a couple of these mesh devices that are out there. It's like, all right, so and I'm supposed to be in character and everything. I'm like, so can you explain to me your method of communication security in the guerrilla base? And I've got the two echoes in training that are there. They look at me and they're like, well, we don't have anything transmitted. And that's okay. Can you take me to your transmitter sites? Yeah, they're outside of the G base. Okay, cool. I pull my spectrum analyzer out because I saw their devices. And I go, what's that? And I took a picture of this, by the way, and I put it up on X. This was a while back. This was like a year ago, a little over a year ago. But put it up on there. Obviously, ComSec, InfoSec, and everything. But just showed them, and I'm like, where is this transmitter? And they kind of like, what? You have something that's transmitting. With 915 megahertz, there it is. You have a way that tiny SA of blowing the waterfall up so you can look at it, and I'm like, that's a LoRa mesh signal. Mm-hmm. Where's that coming from? And so I attached the, I got a little Yagi with it, I'm like, oh, that would be that. Maybe you ought to not have that. Just a thought, and what it is that the thing is that there's nothing against guys trying to try new stuff. It's just that what we know now, especially coming out of Ukraine, what we know now, like there was a company that started building mesh network devices that were ironically are Chinese. But they got a Department of Defense contract from the Air Force, and then Ukraine contract that was really it was a sheep dip contract for Ukraine to build what they called a self-healing network, which was just a buzzword term for using LoRa mesh networking. GoTenna was part of this, which to my knowledge has since been dropped. For the reason I'm about to tell you, and it was because the reasoning was that if one node got DF'd and had rounds dropped on it, that they could you'd have another node that would step in as part of this is constantly healing. Well, do you know how that worked out?
They just drop rounds on all the nodes.
They just fucking barrage an entire kilometer with M-learners.
Yeah.
Like, okay. Yeah, self-heal this. And they realized,
great. Oh, that was burn it all to the ground.
Dude, come on, man.
No, I mean, to your point, though, I think there's merit in like trying new things. I always hesitate when someone comes in and tries to reinvent the wheel with the new hotness. Mm-hmm. And it's like we immediately say, this is the new perfect way to do this. And we jettison 100 years of stuff that we know works, and we know how it works, and we know when it works and why.
Look at the people who are saying it too, though. Mm-hmm. Look at the people who are saying it. And do you ever see these people actually out in public? Like I'll say it, like with just a few minutes left on the clock. Like I'll leave it at this. If you go to a class, you go to somebody, or like you go to an event, right? Somebody's giving a presentation, and then they don't open the floor up to questions, and they can't answer them.
Oh, we lost.
Did we lose Matt?
No? I think his internet might have dropped out on us.
Oh no! Hold on.
Oh no!
Hold on. Am I back?
Wait.
I'm back.
You're back.
He's coming back.
We got him.
The NSA fails again. I am victorious. They cannot get Boris. see what it is. It's big net mesh networking. It's big LoRa. That's what it has to be. But nah, if yeah, there you go, Stuart. Yeah, baby. The mesh got hit. Damn. Nah, but if you go to somebody's presentation and they don't open it up for questions and they're not able to rattle off questions like that, like somebody asks you a question about something, that's where, to me, that's always been the difference between somebody who actually knows what they're talking about and just a bullshit artist. Like, that's the giant difference between the two, man. And if somebody's not able to recognize a pitfall of a technique, that's another. And so if they can't explain to you why they're doing what they're doing, what the logic behind it is, and it's got to be something more than bullshit to you. Okay. It's got to be real world. Hey, I did it at this time. Okay. It works because of this. It works because of that. Like this example. Oh, and hey, we're going to go do it. Right. So in the Army, in every NCO school, we used to have this motto: be, know, do. That was like what you had to be, right? Be the example. You got to know what you're supposed to be doing in all tasks, and then you go fucking do it, and demonstrate it to your troops. That's that, man. You got to be able to do that, and you have to teach from that perspective as well. You don't get that online. You don't get that from some idiot's YouTube video where, like, is this even a real person or is this AI talking to me? Like, I don't even know. And do you ever see these people in public? Like, that's another question. Do you ever see, are they real people? Do you see them in public? I'll leave it at this. I'm a real person. You can come see me in public in Yanceyville, North Carolina. I have a whole ass store you can come visit Wednesday through Saturday. I would love to see y'all.
Nice.
See, I love how Matt makes my job easy because instead of having to where does everybody find you and how you follow up with you? He just, like a professional podcaster, he just makes my life easy.
Yeah, man.
And you can come find me and Phil in person at the next Patreon summer camping trip.
That is true. All right, Matt. So you correct me if I missed something. Still doing training, Brush Beater Store, and American Partisan. Still an awesome freaking website.
Thank you.
Is it Radio Contra or Contra Radio?
Yeah,
Radio Contra podcast. All those links are in the show description for those of you who are either watching this on YouTube or on our Rumble or on our Facebook or listening to this in audio. And if you want Matt to come back on, it's very simple. You harass him or you harass me and Nick.
True.
And I'm sure we can entice him to come back on and bullcrap with us for another 2 hours about God only knows what.
All the things.
Oh, we definitely can do that.
Yes, let's see if we can find another obscure piece of combo gear to piss him off and get him spitting and screaming for a while.
Oh, there's one
Matt,
I
can
appreciate think
you.
Of.
Okay. Do you tease it or do you save it?
Nah. The ANCD. You remember the ANCD? That thing used to make me effing furious. It was an old crypto tool we used to load. You used to have. So the Kick 13 was so cool because it was the little thing. You just plug it in, hit the button, you're good. Hit fill, stow, done. Nah, ANCD though.
The audio listeners are going to totally miss out on the look of Matt's the look on his face as you watch his blood pressure climb into the quadruple digits.
It's just like, it's just another topic that used to just infuriate me. It's like, huh? I don't know what they use now. I know they came out with the SKL, which was actually worse than the ANCD. The SKL was like a little PDA, and that thing was a little Microsoft PDA that had like it was built into a Pelican case. You like plugged it into your radios. That was a major pain in the ass. So I mean, just keep it simple.
Yeah.
The SKO or the Kick 13 was like so simple. You just hit the button, done.
I'm not gonna lie. I was spoiled. We had a combo guy that did all that crap for
Yeah.
us. My job was keeping Blackhawks flying
Nah, there you
so
go.
that they could grab guys like
Such a
you and bring
simple
you where you
job,
wanted to go.
right?
Oh yeah, let me tell you. Have you worked on like a car or truck
Yeah.
before, right? Well, imagine that with 2,500 horsepower and
Bro, that's all I was
Nope.
being facetious.
Simple.
Fat kid stays on the ground.
Your job was fucking hard. Hell no. I don't want to do that.
No, look.
Because
The hardest part of my job was fixing all the crap the pilots screwed up. Whoever had the bright idea to hand Blackhawks off to officers and thought that was going to end well, I don't know what they were thinking.
Well, who are they going to give it to? The enlisted?
Well, we would have
Warrant
broken a lot
officers.
less.
I don't know about that.
warrant officers
Okay,
are like
warrant officers are highly educated privates. Let's be real.
that was my first.
Except for your W4s or your W5s, they were highly educated E4 mafia.
Yes, I was
types.
supposed to say they were the Houdinis. They disappeared. They were gone. You never saw them. They were like the Freemasons of the army. You know they exist somewhere, but you never seen them.
Dude, they were W4s and W5s are basically ninjas in flight suits.
Yes. Oh, it's classic, man. I love it.
All right, man. We got to punt this one out the door. Matter of Fact's podcast going out the door. If you want to follow with Matt, with Brushbeater, with NC Scout, and any other alias he's known by, I'm pretty sure I got all those links in the show description. And if I missed any, he will kick my ass for it later. Take care, y'all. Bye.
Night.